Everything you see here is strictly informational. This is not a channel for you to be taking financial advice from. I am not a financial advisor. I am not a broker. I am just a person that is here recording my journey about learning the markets along the way. So please do not consider me a financial advisor. Do not risk any more money than what you have. Do not be borrowing other people's money. Do not do anything stupid that you're going to regret later with your money. All right, guys. Man, what's been going on? Been a while since I've done a video, probably since last weekend. I just did a quick overview of quite a few things. I'm going to try to do a couple different ones this week, or over this day anyway, of a couple different pairs, metals, indices, whatnot. But today I'm going to start with gold. As you can tell, gold is just on a prowl, and it seems like there is no stopping it, but do have some news that I can share with you guys. So, what's been propping up gold? It could be fears of COVID. I mean, generally when you see something like this with gold happen, especially from years of listening to Mr. Schiff, it usually comes from a place of a fear of the dollar, a fear of the dollar losing value. And so people look towards other things to where their money is going to be valuable. And we all know safe havens of currencies, some people consider the Japanese yen or the franc or other things to where they can, put their money in and invest. I think gold is what a lot of people really take into consideration. So that could be one thing. The scare of COVID could have to be doing with it. But as you can see, we've never seen gold ever get this high. And that being the case, we just kind of have to, with it reaching all-time highs, we just kind of have to analyze and see, what it could be doing next. So I'm going to start from the beginning. And by beginning, I mean beginning of like the charts. So I'm going to go ahead and transition to it. Right now, what we're looking at is a weekly view of gold going back all the way to, I guess, trading time in 2007. I'm not for sure if it goes farther back than that. It probably does, but with my version of Trading View, this is all I can see. So I'm looking at it at put a Fibonacci on it, looking at it from a low standard back in 2006 to when it reached its high. An interesting year, 2011, which was a little bit after the financial collapse of 7, 8, and even then it didn't really have too much of an effect on it. It dropped a little bit, which you would expect it to go up, with people. Well, I guess people didn't really have a whole lot of money to invest and whatnot, so can't really put your money in gold. But as you can see, there was a steady increase until 2011. And then it jumped back up again toward the end of 2012. It kind of hung around in this area between 1920 and 1852, I guess you could say. But if you throw a fib on it, it retraced down to, I guess I could have turned this around, is actually how it should be. So let me do this. Sorry for the unpreparedness. Actually, I was prepared. I just did that really quick to see what would be happening if we were to go the other way. But the little fib on, actually, this was the low point of gold here, was on this one right here, if I can get it to stay. Thanks to the magnet, sometimes it doesn't work as always it should. But you know, it did retrace to the 618 level. Did a little bit below that, but for the most part, you know, it hit the 618. We started retracing back up, and that was around, interestingly enough, 2016, whenever we had a new election. Right, so around election time, I guess you could say, but or that really wasn't the election. The election didn't happen until right around this time. You know, in January 2017, it almost bottomed out again to that 618, but then, you know, it kind of went sideways. So we had a good period here from about 2013 to until about 2019, to where it was, you know, kind of staying in this range. But if you take a look at it, it ranged, but then again at the same time, it didn't. It kind of just dipped, all right. And then after it did that dip, then it kind of started going back up. So, I mean, even though it wasn't a range, it did have, you know, a resistance level. As you can see, I have marked off here, there was a part where it was just kind of struggling to get above this point. Now, as, you know, the years progressed and we, you know, we did get above, this is starting to get around this, you know, this past year, or last year anyway, we did finally jump across that point. And you can see in that point, it kind of struggled a little bit. Right, it struggled a little bit, and then it got up and out of that point. Oops, wrong button here. Wrong button again. You know, you can see right around here, it dipped down, it hit that resistance or support, I should say, and turned to support, right? And then came back up, decided to test the support again, and then continued on. Now, ever since that point, we have seen nothing but growth. So, and now we're saying, okay, so now it's above, you know, that main, the highest level point, and this is what I wanted to point out is my first. Usually, once it gets above, you know, it's high. The first level, you know, some people look at different levels of Fibonacci. My first is always the 1.11 level. So if we throw this back around, you really can't. I mean, I could do a negative level, but it's just easier for me to throw this on here because I already have it set. This back going this way. I think that's why I meant to have it like this in the first place. But the previous high was, you know, 1920.040 or something like that. I wish it would stay. There it goes. No, that's not it. There we go. 1921.0.0. All right, so if you take this, we grab the Fibonacci, we add another layer to it. My usually next recommendation is the 1.11. It nailed that 1.11 and then decided to retrace. What does that mean? And I don't know particularly. That doesn't usually always mean a huge retracement. That's just usually the next resistance zone. Especially once we start drilling into these things, we'll have to take a bigger look, because as you can see, there was really no defined trend line. I mean, there was a channel that was happening there for a second, and that channel started in, let's say late last year. If we get into the 4 hour of it. Yeah.
Hear that?
No. All right, and sorry about that little interruption. Anyways, so now if we zoom into the 4 hour, of what is going on with gold. You can see that there was a channel that was kind of being made, and I would say it would kind of look more like this. It was kind of almost like an ascending wedge, but it wasn't nothing that was too terribly crazy. You had some sideways movements here and there. But then, it was getting toward middle of last month, it went from sideways to where it just all of a sudden went leaps and bounds. And, it grew out of this channel. And so now it almost trend lines and channels are almost out of the question. Right? So let's just get rid of these, because now we are in complete new territory when it comes to gold. And I don't think, like I said, it did hit that 1.11. So what does that mean? I can tell you what I did, especially during this week. This week was extremely easy as far as trading gold. Let's see here. Yeah, because it went from that 17th to that 20th. I was expecting it. Here, let's just get down to the 1 hour of that, the 17th through the 20th. Because it kind of did this. I was hoping it was going to make a little bit more of a dip down to about this area. And it never did. It never did make the dip. It kind of saw this as the new support, and then once it even got near that support, it just kind of took off, and then after that we didn't see it ever again. So that's when it became this week, and this week made it extremely easy to trade, because then once it got to a new support resistance line such as here, it got past this, you could set your buy. It came down, you buy it, you wait till it got it above the next resistance to become support. You set your buy there, you got a buy, you wait till it got above the next one. You would set your buy, you got your buy, and then you wait until you got your next resistance, came above, acted as support, you set your buy, you got your buy, and then you did the same thing, set your one above your next support resistance, and I just kept doing that, and it was way too easy, and then it took off, right? And then once it started doing this little wacky stuff here, and I was like, you know what, it never tested this resistance, so I let it keep going. I set my stop loss down here, I left it there, and I also put my I put a new entrance. I think it was like right above here. Left my stop loss down here. Sure enough, it came down, smacked it, went right back up. And then it kept toying around. I was not selling. I'm still not selling gold. And so, it may have found its high. It kind of dipped back down. What I was looking for was the next entry. I was honestly thinking it was probably going to come around here. But I saw, this little part that came down, smacked it, came back right back up. So I actually placed two entrances, both with very short stop losses. And I placed it here just above this one. I think I placed the stop loss I think I wanted to say I put the stop loss right at the entry, which is probably a dumb idea, to be honest. But I placed it right here. It hit it, came back up, did its thing, and then and to be honest, I was really wary about playing this, because I only got a couple of good gold just of trades that week. And here's one of the main reasons why, is because I saw it forming this ascending wedge, right? So I remember watching this happen. I'm sitting here doing this, right? And I'm sitting here going, okay, it's going to break above, but when does it break above? I honestly thought it was probably going to hit here, come back down, and then hit the top of this, right? This right here, this resistance. or now support. It broke the resistance. I thought it was gonna kind of hit off this wedge point, come back down, and then go. And as I'm sitting here watching it, waiting for it to hit this, this wedge resistance, it just took off. So I had missed my mark on that one. Luckily, I'd still been holding at a small lot size, but I was still holding one. And then came the game again. But this game was a little bit different. This game, it wasn't acting as it would in the previous one. It wasn't setting levels. This time it was doing something different. It was and I'll go to it on this chart. I know I have a lot of markups on here. Bear with me. We're going to get down to the 5 minute and drill in a little bit closer. I'll get rid of this this right here, because actually the fib here makes no sense. So this was the area where it kind of dropped down into this. Now once I saw this happen, right, it came back down. It didn't really, I mean, I guess you could say it was a resistance level, but you kind of also had these other levels too. So what I started doing is I started drawing these almost what I call throw over trend lines, right? So I was throwing these throw over trend lines, finding a spot that was kind of going along this trend line too. And once I had the throw over kind of meet the trend line, that's where I would find a spot to enter, because they were going below. They weren't setting a new level. They were going below, getting close to this trend line, and then I would buy. So I had a buy here. It would go up a little bit. I'd have a buy here. It went up a little bit. I didn't get a buy here, unfortunately, because I threw this through over. If I would have actually done this instead and saw this throw over, take this off of here, then I would have had a buy, but I didn't see that one. It was a little bit too late for me to see that. So then I saw this, threw this over, threw the little box here, got another buy. I threw a throw over here. This one I actually was a little bit intimidated by, because at first I threw this one in later. The first one I threw was actually this one, and so I caught that buy. But looking at it later, I was like, you know what, it probably shouldn't have done that. It probably should have came down a little bit lower, because I saw these making this kind of trend line formation. But as I started going along, I started adding in where I was buying and things like that, and I started posting this on TradingView. I took most of my positions out at 1972.73, I want to say, and I left one running. And I left one running at, I want to say it was 1962. And well, the last one I bought was this one. Once I got this one, it was probably somewhere around 1964. I put my stop loss right at 1962. It did not hit that stop loss. If you can look at the lows here, 1967, 1963, 8, 1962, 24. It did not hit my stop loss once, because I took two profits off of these at 1962. And I let a little lot run, and then I found another entry here, and then wait for it again. Took profit around 1974, something like that, 1972, something like that, 1972. That's what it was. And I kept letting another lot run, and I left my stop loss in 1962. Well, then that's when the game changed. The game changed, and this was probably around the morning, late night, something like that. I think we saw either NZD or Australia or something like that put out inflation numbers, which weren't bad, which was the funny thing. Or maybe it was whenever the U.S. put out their unemployment numbers, they were good. And so we started seeing this little decline. A funny thing is that I actually placed an entry. Well, what I was doing is, as this was going on, I kept finding new resistance points. I kept placing entries in case it would dip down and hit those resistance levels. I would get an entry and hopefully pop back up. And I got a good one. It was right, I want to say it was this one actually. Let me look at my phone and find out exactly which one it was, because I caught a really good one. I got about 150 pips on it. To XAUUSD. It wasn't 2052. That was a good one that I got onto. It was 2024 is where I had the entry. So it was this one. Yeah, I set the entry around 2025, I want to say. I think so. I say it was 2024. It got a little bit less because of the spread. Yeah, 2024.59. So I think I set it at 2025. I set my stop loss. I want to say I was barely in the clear, because I usually only put about a 50 pip stop loss when I do gold. And so I think I put it at 2020. And then what happened is and if we want to really dig into this, what had happened is it smacked that and it just went straight up, and it went straight up until about 2040 or so. And I did not have any type of take profit or whatever. I just saw it go straight up, and then when I saw it kind of start fighting back down, I probably could have let it go a little bit, because I wouldn't have got much more, because the highest it got was 2040. Yeah, so I want to say it was about a good 100 pips I got out of it. But then once I saw it do this, and when it started taking the turn the opposite way, and now I'm starting to think, okay, maybe the bears are starting to become in play, or I don't know if we're just seeing a great pullback, or the bears are actually in full control. I didn't set a sell. I set another buy, but however, my next buy was actually at 2012. This is where I set my next buy. Let me remove this. And the reason I set my next buy at 2012 was because of this area right here. I thought 2012 would probably be this area, and set my stop loss down below here around 2000 or 2012. Set my stop loss below 2000, and strikingly enough, it only hit about 2015, and so I missed that opportunity. It went up. I thought about setting a buy around right here where it was about 2040. Unfortunately, it only got about 2036, and then I just watched it the rest of the day. I didn't get into any other trades because it came down, it hit another resistance level, or support level, sorry, and then at the very end of the day, it started going back up. So what does this tell me? And if you look at this, let's just go from a 4-hour standpoint. Don't worry about my boxes up above. This is that channel I was talking about. If we zoom in, we did have a defined kind of trend line that was happening after it broke above, right? It broke above that channel. And when it broke above that channel, it started defining this trend line. And it came over and it hit this trend line. And that was after it did this ascending wedge part that I was like a little worried about. I was still setting buys, but I was still worried about the ascending wedge. And I was hoping it'd come back down and get me another one. But it broke out of that. But still, with that ascending wedge, it was still pushing up this trend line. So now, at the very last minute, I should have been paying more attention to this, to be honest. Because if I was paying more attention to this trend line, I probably would have had, instead of it set at 2012, which was kind of below where it would have been at the time, I would have set it just a little bit higher. And anticipated it, and being at least getting into that 2012 mark, but not getting below that 2000 mark. You gotta think, the highest, the high is, what was it? Again, I forget the high. High previously is 1921. 070. So we are way over $100 from the previous high, and it only took 2 weeks to get there, and it's still going up. So this was what I drew for last week, and this is this week's. So as you can see, if I want to just extend this out, or actually extending that out, it's not really going to do much. But if I take this point and drag this down to where it started actually going up, from when it broke away from this sideways trend and also the channel, that's when you're going to see it meet this here and this here. So those kind of things you have to pay attention to. It started going up. What are my anticipations now as far as what this week is going to be? I still don't see us having a huge pullback, right? If we do have a huge pullback, I see it happening on this overthrow line. And, you know, if anything, it could go through here, hit this overthrow line, or what we're going to do is we may see something along the nature of these lines here. You know, where it could start playing these games to where it does kind of pull back, because what I'm thinking is that the bankers are waiting, right? The bankers are thinking, okay, the retail people are clearly, you know, thinking that this is going to drop, and that you know, they're going to be selling. They're going to be selling because they think this is the top of the game. I don't think this is the top of the game. I think we're far from the top of the game. I think we're going to easily hit 2100 probably this week. You know, Schiff thinks we're going to hit 5,000 eventually, maybe by the end of the year. But to be honest, there really is no end in sight for gold. Anybody that's selling gold, I'm not going to say I pity you, but I would say rethink what you're actually doing and place yourself in a position to where you're going to be buying gold rather than selling it, even if it's for, you know, a short scalp. You know, and it could turn around and go back on you. But it could not. It could turn around and start going the other way. Again, you know, we may see a pullback. We may see that big pullback. Who knows? It could get down to, you know, 2020, you know, or 1920 again. I think that's probably the lowest it's gonna get. You know, it may pull back to that last high that we had from 2011. That's probably going to act as the new huge main support line, and I don't think it's going to get any lower than that, but we'll see. You know, there's a lot going on in the world today. You know, it talks about the Fed again coming in, talks about stimulus, talks about everything. But I don't think this drop in gold at the last part of the weekend was any kind of indicator that gold is going to start dropping. If anything, what that was people taking their profits and running, is what that was. People had made a lot of money off of gold, so why not sell all of it toward the end of the weekend? Go take a vacation somewhere. It is August. And then whenever you want to come back in, they're going to take that same money that they have left over that they didn't use from their vacation. They're going to throw it right back in, things of that nature. I don't see gold going anywhere anytime soon. Silver, on the other hand, is another beast. Maybe I'll do another video on that, but that's going to be my weekly outlook, or my outlook on gold and to where we are heading next. Again, look for a pullback. That's possible. Don't expect a huge one. Maybe 1920 is the biggest pullback that we're going to see. but I think it's highly unlikely. I personally think, again, do that throw over from that ascending wedge, or maybe somewhere in between 1980 and then 1990. I think is probably where this highest we're going to see a pullback from this. I actually have one set. I have a buy set already at 1995. With a stop loss of around 1985, because I don't think we're going to see, or I should say 1975, my bad. I don't think we're going to see anything get much lower than that. And I said, just, pay attention to the main trend lines, these big trend lines, these small ones like we saw on Friday, or, I want to say the 4th, or all week, I should say, and from the 4th until the end of the week, those just had, big spurts. They had a little bit of a drop. You had a good buy entrance. You had a big spurt, a little drop. And then, I was able to pull off quite a few trades just off that. Wasn't as good as a couple weeks prior, to where it made it a little bit too easy to trade, but, it was still tradable nonetheless. Again, if you're looking at this to sell, I wouldn't expect gold to be selling off anytime soon. But then again, that's just my 2 cents. I am not a predictor of the market. I'm just analyzing what I see, and we'll see what happens from here. If you guys have different thoughts, let me know. All right. Thanks so much for watching an episode of Bodies and Wicks, which, if you don't know what it means it's a candle. My little play on words there. And I'll see you guys in my next video, hopefully about SPX, which I've also been trying to play. Those are the 2. Also, I'm going to probably do one on Euro USD, as we are still possibly in false breakout mode as to what happened at the end of the week with Euro USD. Thanks, guys. Look forward to see you in the next video.